Welcome to episode 37 of Full Throttle, the Presidio Group's automotive industry podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stein, Director of Multimedia and Events at Presidio. And on a regular basis, Full Throttle serves as the industry's meeting point for great conversations with leaders across the automotive world.
You know, floor plan expense is out of control, right? You look at it and you look at our interest rates, and I think this year the Fed's going to drop at best a half a point is what I'm reading and hearing. Maybe more now that Trump has some influence, but I think the brands can help in several ways. And I think, again, some of my manufacturers are, and then I have others that are just blind to the world in that regard.
Some lessons are harder to learn than others, and some life experiences shape you in a way that others will never do. Or in the case of Corina Diehl, maybe the lesson is a lifelong one in duration. Corina never imagined she would be where she is today. Nearly 20 years ago, she was mostly at home, supporting her family, 2 kids, and a husband who owned a dealership in Pennsylvania. She was loosely tied to his business until she was dramatically thrust into it. After losing her husband to a sudden illness, Corina's world was thrown into chaos. With a family to feed and a life quickly changed, she did the unconventional. Well, maybe unconventional for those who did not have the will and determination that she would exhibit. Corina changed course, pulled herself together, took on the task of operating that store, and that was April of 2007. In 18 years, 22 rooftops, and 9 collision centers later, she finds herself here, a dominant player in her Pittsburgh-based world, adding stores, challenging convention, and never taking no for an answer, whether it comes from a manufacturer or a vendor or anyone. In many ways, she's just a dynamo, committed to her passion, committed to her world, and now working with her 2 children to leave a legacy. She's not short on substance or style. She's not afraid to push back, and she's very much the person she's always been, hard-charging, family-focused, treating every dealership employee like they were her own family members, and succeeding along the way. Today, in a rare interview, because frankly, she just doesn't do many of them, she tells the story of the industry from her perspective, and she shares her direction as a dealer. Nearly 20 years after the tragedy that changed her life, she works every day to make the lives of her teammates better. Corina Diehl, CEO of Diehl Automotive, today on Full Throttle.
Hi, I'm Corina Diehl. This is Presidio's podcast, Full Throttle.
It is so good to have my friend Corina Diehl on the program, not only because she had a fantastic 2024, but she's going to have a big 2025, probably just in the first week of 2025. How are you, Corina?
I'm fabulous. Thank you. And thank you for having me. Yes, I'm going to be a grandmom on Thursday, maybe Friday, depends on when Rachel pumps the baby out. We don't know what it is, right? Which is super fun. I'm hoping it's a girl, but we have a 50-50 shot. So yes, that's Thursday of this week. And yeah, bring it on, right?
It's a new product delivery, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Total new model coming into the family.
New model.
A new model, yep. A 2025.
How excited are you?
I'm really excited. So my son has 4 children, right? Which I call my little monsters in an adoring way. And they are, because they're 6, 5, 3, and 2. And it's like, I go over there and it's sheer insanity. My daughter, you can't even begin to imagine. And I'm the working grandmom, right? So I'm the one that shows up after work, plays for a few hours. I'm not the babysitting type. It's just
right. And then leaves, goes back to the store. Right.
Yeah. I'm that grandmom, and they do have the other grandmoms. So I'm really grateful. Right. But when your daughter has a child, it's definitely a different world. So I know I'll probably spend more time with the baby because she's going to depend on me. Right. So yeah. And her in-laws bought a home in Pittsburgh. They live on the Cape. So they bought a home here, which I'm so grateful for, because that'll help her as well. Right. So yeah, super excited though. Can't wait. Wait, you'll love this, Jason. I offered her a fortune to name the baby Corina. She didn't take it. Every one of her friends said they'd name their kids Corina for the same thing, but didn't work.
I'll give you 11 of the 22 franchises if you name her Corina.
Right, right. I tried. It didn't work. So, okay. So no Karina's coming out, but yes, super excited. Thank you for asking. And
Oh, it's
yeah.
wonderful news. It's wonderful news that'll set you up for an absolutely fabulous year. How is your 2024 from a business perspective?
You know what? It's been a tough year. I mean, generally, I've always felt election years are tough years, but our profits are down substantially. I feel like we've gone back to the horror market that we've once had. And we were all, we were all spoiled with COVID, which is quite a while ago, but it's been a tough year. I mean, in terms of inventory, some of my franchises are total dogs right now.
Mm.
And that's very problematic. So learning to balance, but I do have a really nice mixture of franchises. So, the Toyotas and Hondas offset the Stellantis, the Ford, and I don't mind naming them. Listen, I look at Stellantis as a mess, as we all know. And, again, it's been a tough year. We're revamping, cutting expenses, going a bit of a different direction. We're really going to focus. I think our GMs have been too focused on the entire store versus sales. So we're shifting our model a little bit, and bringing the focus back on sales and processes. And when you grow as quickly as we have, we're still on a learning curve with all of this. And I think that we're wrapping ourselves around it. I mean, I just closed on a store December 1st, added it to the mix, and I just put an offer on another store, which is total insanity. I look at it and go, okay, what am I doing? Should I focus more on getting the current stores I have in a better place, or is it a numbers game, right? Is it just a
What do you What do you think? I mean, you must think it's probably as much of a numbers game as it is anything else if you're still expanding.
Well, it is, right. And this particular store I just put an offer on would be a nice addition to the family. One of the brands I currently have, I don't have any super high lines, right? But I love the Japanese products and I love them as partners. So this happens to be a Japanese brand, and I think it'll just add a nice mixture into our group. But yeah, tough year if I look back over the years.
Have we reverted to bad habits? Is that what's happened?
Absolutely. I think a lot of these guys, including management, have coasted on what was a simple sell. And I think you probably heard that from other dealers. I think that salespeople have gotten, I hate saying this, lazy, but when people walk in and want your product and here's your number and bam, 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 and they're signing up because we don't know when we're getting it again, to having, 8 of that particular product sitting there puts us in a different situation. And, and then you have the management team that still feels they should hold a tremendous amount of gross. And in actuality, I love the concept, right? But the reality is that my competitor no longer is. And we have to do what our competition does. And that's where I go back to the whore market, as I call it. And it's sad, right? Because a lot of what we offer, other dealers may not offer, but we know everybody's a price shopper at the end of the day. And there is no brand loyalty as far as I'm concerned.
It's amazing when you think of let's just say the last 3 to 5 years. And if we've reverted back to where we were pre-COVID, then that blip in the middle of COVID was such a departure from reality that maybe most forgot how to operate anymore. Would you concur?
Absolutely. And that's where we're drawing our focus back in.
Yeah.
Because we absolutely have looked at it, and it goes back to sales, and it goes back to management keeping processes in place, and it goes back to doing the right thing with our customers. And, even the greeting part. I was in one of my stores the other day, and I was in the GM's office, which obviously, or should have, it does have a window out to the showroom. And I'm looking, and I watch a couple walk in, salesman doesn't get off his ass to greet him. Think about this. I mean, you don't get up, you sit there, they're to come to you. You can imagine how crazy I went over that with the GM, marched into the sales manager's office. I mean, think about this. Get up and greet your customer. Are you that spoiled that you think they should come sit at your desk and wait for you? So yes, I think that there's a lot of complacency that's happened. And I think us as a company, we are working to get back to basics.
Back to basics. I was just going to say that.
Back to basics, back to car sales 101, back to how we should treat that customer from the moment they walk in, back to follow-ups. And our CRM tells us what they do and don't do. And we listen to recorded calls all the time. But we're going back to basic training as well. And I also feel it's time to clean up house a little bit. I met with my key people. It's about 2 weeks before the holidays. And that was one of the topics of the conversation. It's time to get rid of some of the old that isn't going to change, that feels there's a sense of entitlement selling a car to a customer, right? Those times are gone. And I've put the hammer down in terms of get them out. I know it's hard to get competent salespeople, but these guys make a lot of money, right? If you're good and you take care of your customer, it's a wonderful career. And I'm finding that some of them just take it for granted and make assumptions, and I'm over it.
Yeah. Well said. When you think about the car market in general, and you just said the competitive forces are, things are so closely aligned, it's very difficult to separate in the market. What do brands have to do that you have now under your franchises? What do they have to do to separate themselves from?
I mean, look, I think keeping the APRs low is huge, right? I need more programs to come out for the consumer, and they are. I mean, some of my manufacturers are a lot better than others with that. I think, inventory is still problematic because now you're getting the, hey, can you take this? And then I'll give you the 2 of these. We're back to that game with our reps, and, floor plan expenses out of control. Right. You look at it and you look at our interest rates. And I think this year the Fed's going to drop at best a 0.5 point is what I'm reading and hearing. Maybe more now that Trump has some influence. But, I think the brands can help in several ways. And I think, again, some of my manufacturers are. And then I have others that are just blind to the world in that regard. Don't understand it, and those are my problem manufacturers.
Yeah, you've said before about stair-step incentives. You said it drives everyone to insanity.
It's a race to the bottom. Think about it. It's just a race to the bottom. And I'm not a fan of it. I remember the days when we'd make a fortune with Stellantis on stair-step programs, but I think at the end of the day, just give us a good basis to work with, whether it's dealer cash, consumer incentives, both, and allow us to do what we do.
When you think about some of the programs that you're asked to do, facility improvement programs, you've said you've had your challenges before. Are we back to that scenario as well?
We are. I mean, I have some very demanding manufacturers. And we have facilities where we have 2 under renovation now. We're doing 2 full tear downs. We're doing 1 new build. And, some of them are demanding just insanity. It doesn't pencil, Jason, at the end of the day, right? And then you have other manufacturers that are offering you a reasonable amount of financial assistance in addition to inventory. So you look at them and you go, wow, okay, this will make sense. And then the others that won't do anything, you're going, are you nuts? Like, seriously, are you nuts? Come on. I'm not doing it. Right. Yeah. And those are where I had one dealer dealer placement, who whatever his title was, calling me asking me when I was going to do reno on the building. I said, when you get your shit together as a manufacturer, do not call me. I'm not doing it. Well, it's the truth, right?
Sure.
Don't expect me to spend money and not
Why would you spend your money?
Yeah, you want me to spend all this money and you're doing nothing to help me now. Okay, my inventory's old, my turn rate isn't there. You guys aren't doing anything, but you're calling me. Then he calls me a week later about a different store because I happen to have 4 or 5 of that particular brand. And I'm like, dude, we had this conversation. Nothing's changed in a week. I respect your job. I respect what you have to do, but you tell them I'm not touching it. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that, I mean, look, there are some really dumpy facilities out there, and I think they're an embarrassment, and I get it. And I have a few, and those I need to fix for us, but with the help of our partner. Right. And that's where my head goes. If I'm a partner with you, we need to work together on this.
You mentioned Stellantis earlier. Boy, a lot of headlines in 24 with Stellantis. How did we get so sideways?
You know, that's a really good question. I think the leadership there fell apart, and I think it was all about greed. And I really do. I feel like it was all about them taking what they could take from us, from the public, but more so us. And they lost track of what really mattered. I mean, I just saw they're down again another 7%. And it's horrible because they have good product, you know, and it's sad. Now, I hope the turnover is going to help. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. It's definitely a brand that 5 years ago, I was selling 100 a month at a given store, and great product, and not the issues we have and the recalls. And you know, I mean, the forums are killing the product, and rightfully so. And then you look at the cost. I mean, they've lowered prices on some of their units now, and it's just a problem. And it's a sad state of affairs because Jeep is an iconic brand, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you have Ram. And the trucks are glorious, but they're just so overpriced in comparison to the market.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that this year is a better year for Stellantis as a whole, and obviously all of us dealers that are living through it and suffering through it. We
overpriced. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I apologize.
Overpriced is the word. I mean, we've been talking about this affordability issue on this program for the last couple of years, frankly.
Yeah.
There's got to be a breaking point there, right, Corina?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, you know, they overprice the units, and our margins internally on those are so small that there's really nowhere to go. So we're taking hits to get them off of our floor plan. I mean, right now it's just, I have crap that's 300 days old. I have products that customers don't want. And yeah, they need to revamp their business model. We need to be good partners again.
Expansion. You're always looking for opportunities. You're always looking for stores, and you just mentioned you're closing in early December. So, what is the pathway to continue to look at options? Do you think that maybe you'll hold serve here?
You know, it's funny. So my children are in the business. My son is my right hand, my left hand. A genius. And quite frankly, at this point, it's about legacy. I have more than enough. I'm blessed beyond words. I don't need any more stores. But at the end of the day, we've scaled up enough that it is a numbers game. So I'll probably keep buying stores for the next 5 years or so, assuming that they're the right opportunity. This last store was unique because it's exceeding its objectives. And those generally aren't the type of stores I go after. I go after stores where they're still writing ROs on paper, right? If you can imagine. Yeah, they're like, here I come. You know, but yeah, to answer your question, yes, I'm still in buying mode. I think it's more of a legacy thing at this point. And I think that, These small guys that are single points stores are just getting buried, right? At the end
Yeah,
of the day, you have one franchise and you depend on that particular. Imagine just being a Stellantis dealer right now. You're
sure.
struggling, right? So keeping our house with a nice assortment of franchises, I think is healthy. I'd love a store in Florida. I keep trying. I keep hitting up all these awesome brokers going, hey, you got anything that's reasonable? And then somebody brought me one and I went, I just can't do 80 million for one store. In
I was going
Florida.
to ask you about pricing. Yeah, you're still seeing.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I am still seeing those crazy numbers, which is interesting. And I think that I go back to certain dealers assume that their store's worth way more than it is. I mean, the particular store I'm looking at last 2 years has lost a lot of money and his numbers just really high for what it is. So, the brokers had the conversation with him, and I think there's got to be a reality factor as a seller and or a buyer, right?
Right, right,
It has to pencil for me too,
right.
right?
Unbelievably, in a couple of years, it'll be 20 years that you've been active in doing this. Does that even surprise you when you think about it? I mean, you're a carpenter's daughter,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And when your husband Matt was alive, you were a little bit more typical and traditional in the fact that you stayed home with the kids.
Mhm.
And now you're 20 years, you almost 20 years that you've been sitting in a dealership telling manufacturers what to do and asking teammates to help you. And when you reflect on that and this incredible car business, you must be just amazed at what you've been able to build.
Jason, it's truly, I hear a lot of people tell me my story is incredible and what I've achieved. And yet I look at it, yes, I'm a carpenter's daughter. I was the mom who took care of the kids and handled things at home, and I was thrown into this at a time that was so insane. And I reflect upon that probably more so and how it affected my daughter. My son was in college, and that poor kid was just, I look at her and think, wow, she is the woman she is because she got a mom that was with her and then went to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and the kid ate chicken nuggets more than I could tell you. And you know, and then the growth and the reason for the growth and the opportunities. And I guess I do look back and I'm astounded at where we've come and what we've done. But I will also tell you, I feel like I get so much credit for it, but at the end of the day, it's this team of people I have that drives it. If I didn't have my son as my right and left hand, would I do what I do? Probably not. If I didn't have the right people that make the wheels turn, I don't know that I'd continue to grow. But in hindsight, yeah, 22 stores, 9 collision centers, some other things we've invested in because of this. I know I have a lot to be proud of, and I can't tell you it was an easy journey, but where I sit now, almost 20 years later, I guess I'm astounded at times. I guess it's not even real at times, and yeah, it's been a very interesting journey.
You
And
said
you
you
know,
said that.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, and to be a woman, to think about the battles I've fought along the way to get here, I reflect on that probably more so than where I sit today, because today's just been today. Where we sit is incredible. But yeah, women in this industry struggle. We still struggle, and quite frankly, I can't imagine a woman starting where I started a long time ago when Matt died today and having to go through what I went through again, because it was torture. It was abusive, from all the way around, right? But that tough carpenter's daughter skin, that Jersey girl in me kept me going. And the fact that I had to feed 2 kids, I had a kid in college, right? I mean, we as moms, certainly as single parents, know that when you've got to buckle down, what two choices, you quit or you go, right? And I was on both. I was on full throttle. How's that?
Well done.
Right.
Well, your husband, I mean, this is the first time that I had ever read it and saw you say it, but before he died, about 4 weeks before he died, tragically early at 46 in 2007, he looked at you and said, if something happens to me, sell this store. It will eat you alive.
Mm-hmm.
And you said there were times that it almost did.
There absolutely no doubt. And when I think of that moment, and that also will be embedded in my brain forever. Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been an easy journey. As of now, it's a lot easier because I have people that can carry a lot of this weight.
Right.
But I mean, when the world's falling apart and you're holding on, and I taking care of my people very seriously. It's something that I think about every day. This is a family. This isn't just a company. It's a family. And I'm responsible for so many people, right? If you take a technician, his wife, his two kids, his mom, I look at that picture and it's a lot of weight to carry. And then when times aren't good and you're looking at pay plans and you're looking at ways to cut expenses, it's a tough gig. But I keep in mind that every day it's about the company succeeding as a whole. It's not necessarily about me and how much I make, because I have more than I need. I'm good in life. I'm set. I've made sure of that. God forbid the world falls apart again, I can keep the stores running efficiently. But yeah, it's quite a journey. Everything's been an amazing, incredible journey. And I'm thankful for all of it. Yeah, even the nights I cried every night, wondering how I was going to make payroll the next week, And I know other dealers go through this as well. I mean, imagine you've been losing money for the last 2 years. And yeah, that's a tough gig. You can't lose money forever, right? You kind of got to go, okay, when do I cut this? When's the bleed stop? Where does it stop?
Amazing, incredible. You're an inspiration. It's been wonderful to watch you grow the business and to see you succeed. And we thank you for the full throttle that you were on then and full throttle you're on now. So, Corina, just deep appreciation. Thank you for being on the program.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. All the years we've known each other and been friends. It's pretty cool. I'm proud of you too, dude. I'm excited for you, your marriage. Like, life is good. Life is good for both of us, right?
Thank you, Corina.
Thank you.
That's the 37th episode of Full Throttle. A special thanks to my guest, Corina Diehl, CEO of Diehl Automotive. Thanks for listening. For a library of these episodes with industry leaders, go to thepresidiogroup.com. I'm your host, Jason Stein. We'll talk to you again next time.